it's not healthy for anyone to have everything everywhere all the time. And a lot of us, even if we're not rich, are kind of in a situation like that in the digital world now. And so I think when it comes to businesses, there are a bunch of, there are examples in the book where people are just sloppy, like when they have too much, right? It leads to sloppiness. It leads to not feeling like you need to define these boundaries. And I think this gets at one of the things that I hope, maybe the mindset shift that I hope the book engenders, which is from seeing limits as only bad to seeing them as opportunities to clarify priorities and launch productive exploration. And I think when people have too much, like to Bill Gurley's "More startups die of indigestion than starvation" quote, you're not forced to be resourceful and you're not forced to clarify priorities. And so you don't. And I actually don't think that's a good thing for people, right? It's like I don't think it's good for work, and I don't think it's good for having meaning in your life to kind of always have your options infinitely open. I feel like, because I'm conscious that it may sound like sometimes I'm contradicting, at least the title of the book sounds like I'm contradicting Range, my previous book, which is about broad experiences. But it actually felt like a natural next question to me, where it's, okay, you get this broad tool set. At some point, you have to focus this into something, into achievement, hopefully into meaning and satisfaction. And I've kind of found that in a lot of really talented or hardworking people, they may over-index on optionality, like keeping their options open all the time because they can. Maybe they're very talented or they're very hardworking or lucky or whatever it is. But sometimes I think that can actually really backfire if people start making decisions, if keeping your options open becomes an end unto itself. And so I think I've seen some very talented peers and friends endlessly keep their options open in a way that actually doesn't help them reach better satisfaction. I'm not sure I'm articulating that well.
I think I hear what you're saying. It's like there comes a sort of phobia towards commitment. And you sort of tell yourself that if I commit to this one thing, I'm saying no to all these other possible things that could land on my plate. And so it leads to someone being unfocused. I think a good example would be something like marriage, right?
Totally.
It's like that is sort of the ultimate commitment. I feel like you see a lot of men are like, they're afraid to get married because like, well, what could happen? I'm going to be tied down. But I think when you survey people in general at a population level, married people tend to be happier because it's like, I was talking to my friend, John Deloney, who has a podcast on relationships, and he's doing a book about marriage, and he asked me, he's like, well, why did you get married? Like, you don't have to. He's asking all these people this. And I was like, that's a good question. And the way I thought of it was, now you're doing the crossword puzzle in ink. So you got to like,
love that.
You know what I mean? Like, you're committed. You're into this thing, and you're into it for the long
Makes you think
haul.
a lot harder about what your decisions if you're doing it in ink.
Totally. One thing you brought up in the book, too, is that so many people think about, well, what should I do? When oftentimes a better question to ask yourself is, what should I not do in different situations? Where did you see that manifest?
I mean, again, that was like part of General Magic's big problem was deciding what not to do. But I think about that all the time in things like our information diet, right? Like people are overwhelmed. There's so many things that seem interesting. There's so much information coming at you. And I think it's a constant question of, I'm curious, I want to learn things, but how can I stay sane? And I described this in one genetics lab in the book, where they take Post-it notes and put them on the wall, and each one representing one of their current commitments or projects. And the first thing that happens is once they put them on the wall, so they're making all their current commitments visual, is they realize there's way more than they could ever get done already in process. And so immediately they see it and say, we have to start moving some of this stuff out or we'll never get anything done. And they have like a hopper where they don't say, we don't have to just throw that idea out the window. We can put it in a holding place, but it's backburnered, right? And then they implement this rule where you can't start a new project in the funnel unless one moves out of the funnel. So it's contained. So they're making these choices about what not to do. And some of those things that they decide not to do may be good ideas, but it doesn't matter because they weren't going to get to anything if they had all these ideas. And I kind of took that and did that for myself because I thought that idea of making all your current commitments visible was really interesting. And I did the same thing for my own commitments. And you immediately start looking at it and saying, this is a lot of stuff. And these ones are a lot more important than those ones. And I like all of these. And if there were 10 of me, I'd be happy to do all of them, but there aren't. And so it forces you to kind of prioritize. And then I did the same thing with my information diet, where I logged all of the sources over a month that I turned to, did the Post-its on the wall, said, which of these do I feel was worthwhile, and kept that in. And then occasionally new sources come in, and then I'll move something else out of the funnel, and it builds up, so I have to kind of do it regularly.
So I see this a ton in the wellness space, in the sense that when people go, I want to get healthier, I want to improve my life, they start immediately adding. They start saying, okay, I'm going to drink this protein shake every morning. I'm going to drink this greens powder. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. But oftentimes what I've noticed is that simply figuring out your worst habit and then subtracting that out usually moves the ball way downfield farther than would adding all this stuff. Right? It's like, I compare it to if you're trying to get somewhere and you have your foot on the brake, hammering the gas is not going to be an efficient way to do it. It's much easier to take your foot off the brake and then give a little bit of gas. I feel like that's just something that people frequently overlook.
I think especially, like you mentioned, in the health and wellness space, where there's so much content about optimizing this and that, and that you could schedule every second of your day to optimize if you took all of this kind of advice, that I think can be so overwhelming that even really well-intentioned people do start and then maybe fall prey to, and this is an actual psychological term, the what the hell effect, where you're trying to optimize all this stuff, you miss once, and then you're like, what the hell, I missed, and you just throw everything out the window. So I think that's a danger too. So subtracting, starting with simplicity. I mean, for me, I wanted to convert myself into a morning person when I had a kid, and because I was very much a night owl before. And one simple thing I did is, and it's a little embarrassing, but whatever, is I started going to sleep in running clothes or workout clothes. And because then I wake up in the morning and I look in the mirror and I'm like, am I going to take these off now? No, I'm not. I'm going to go work out. And I've worked out every day in the morning for, like 2 years and haven't used an alarm clock. And so these are really simple things where it doesn't have to be some crazy change, just like a tiny constraint that can be helpful.
Yeah, I see this a lot in this trend of morning routines, where you see people posting like their 57-step morning routine online. And for me, I always ask, what is the ultimate goal of this routine? So I'll take myself as an example. Right, my goal is to get up and start writing because I need to write a book. What does meditating for 10 minutes, yoga for 5 minutes, breath work, insert the 17 other things that you see online, what the hell does that have to do with words getting on a page? It's like nothing. What gets words on a page is sitting down in front of a typewriter and putting words on a page. So stripping out the things that you can't directly have a one-to-one relationship with this bigger goal you're after, I think becomes important.
Totally. I mean, and then it's like doing all those other things. You could argue that maybe they get you in the space to then be more productive when you do that, but it's such a roundabout way, right? You should first attack the thing that you're thinking about attacking instead of all this other stuff around it. And I think one of the reasons I think some of the optimization culture is insidious is because it preys on really good instincts in people of like self-improvement, wanting to be better. But it's like in so many cases, I think it's just distracting from the main thing.
Yeah.
And that's just like frustrating for good impulses to be, I think, sort of preyed upon in that way, basically.
Totally.